Chair.
Okay. All right, I'm calling this meeting of the Rhode Island Marine Fisheries Council to order. My name is Molly Moran-Okren. I have the honor serving as chair on this council on behalf of Terrence Gray, our director. We have a forum and we have an agenda. Are there any recommended changes to that agenda? Hearing none, is there any objection to approving the agenda as presented? The agenda is approved by consent. All right. The next item on our agenda is the meeting minutes from December 4, 2023. Are there any recommended changes to the minutes as noted? Is there any objection to approving the minutes as presented? Hearing none, minutes are approved by consent. All right, public comment. The next item on the agenda is public comment on any matters not included on tonight's agenda. If you have anything, please raise your hand. Seeing none in the room, Nicole, do we have anything online? Cool. Okay, so seeing no hands, we'll move on to the next item. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is reviewing and the approval of the minutes from the Shellfish Advisory Panel meeting held on February 14, 2024. I'll have Anna Gerber-Williams from the Division of Marine Fisheries provide an overview in lieu of the Shellfish Advisory Panel Chair, Katie Egan, who's not able to make this.
So thank you, Madam Chair. So during the last Shellfish Advisory Panel meeting, the first item on the agenda was two aquaculture applications that were both expansions of current leases in the West Passage off of Rhode Point. After discussion, for both of the applications, there were motions made to recommend to CRMC that the aquaculture activities proposed in the application is consistent with competing uses engaged in the exploitation of marine fisheries. The first one application passed 8-2, and the other one passed 9-0. I mean, 9-1. The next agenda item was the Division of Marine Fisheries update on the Providence River 2023 commercial landings and dredge survey data, where the division had information from last year's harvest results, and then they gave an update on dredge survey results from the Providence River from this past year's survey. The next item on the agenda was the Providence River Area E 2024 harvest schedule. There were two proposals that were brought forth to the SAP, and these proposals were discussed. And there were 3 different motions that were made under this agenda item. The first motion was passed unanimously, and that was a motion for a February or a 2025 winter harvest schedule. The next motion was for a December harvest schedule, and that passed 9-1. And the final motion was for the summer and fall harvest schedule, and that passed 9. The next agenda item was the Providence River Area.
The second two motions, that was for 2024, right? So, okay.
Yeah. The next agenda item was the Providence River Area E time restriction proposal from the Division of Law Enforcement. And there was a member of law enforcement there to speak on behalf of this proposal that was brought forth in front of the staff. Upon discussion, they came up with a motion that was voted on, and you'll see on the slides in a bit. And that motion passed unanimously 8-0. The next agenda item was the 2024 shellfish transplant, which was just an FYI and updates for the SAP panel. And the meeting adjourned at 7:45.
Great. Thanks, Anna. Is there any questions or comments on Anna's own minutes? And if you've had a chance to review them in part, you have to. Okay. Is there any objection to approving those minutes from the SAP meeting held on February 14th? Hearing none, the minutes are approved by consent. Okay, so into the beef of it. The next item on the agenda of the 2020 is the 2024 Shellfish harvest schedule for Providence River Shellfish Management Area, Conditional Area E. I'll go to Anna for the overview. I'll just go over how we'll do this for everybody. So I'll go to Anna for the overview, and then I'll offer an opportunity for questions from the council. And then I will go to the Division of Marine Fisheries for some perspective. Then I will go to the public for comment on anything related to the matter. Then I will entertain a motion, and then we'll go from there. Does that work? Okay. Anna, take it away.
Madam Chair. So the schedule that was voted on during the last SAP was a combination of the two proposals that were brought forth from the SAP. In order, starting with early summer, and we'll work our way through 2025. So it will be open in 2024, status quo to the last few years, 8 to 11 at a 6 bushel per person per day limit. Now, the dates that were put forth, starting in May, will be 5 days in May. In June would be 7 days. July would be 10 days. August would be 9 days. September 5 days. October 4 days, for a total of 40 days. Now, the fishery would close in those areas once 21 days has been reached, anytime between May and October in the states. Next would be the December harvest schedule, which would be a total of 3 days. And the first would occur, 2 days would occur between weeks of December 16th and December 20th. And it would be open on the first 2 non-consecutive weekdays that are not closed due to water quality. The last day would occur somewhere between December 23rd and 27th, and would be open 1 weekday on the first available weekday that is not closed due to water quality impairment. It would not include December 24th and 25th. Now, as I mentioned, there was a discussion to add days for 2025. This was in an effort to account for days that might not be used out of the 21 days allotted between May and October. And so a way to try and incorporate that into the schedule without having to bring it forth in front of the staff and council again in the fall like we did last year. They tried to incorporate this with a 2025 schedule. Now, this would be open from 8 to 10, so a 2-hour opening versus the regular 3-hour opening would still be at a 6 bushel per person day limit. And the days that they proposed were February, 2 days in February, so February 10th, 24th, 2 days in March, the 10th and 24th, and 2 days in April, the 7th.
Is that
That should be it. Yeah.
that's it? Okay, great. And can you just remind me too, what the vote was for this? Was this a unanimous vote?
So for the first one, so it was. Give me 1 second. So
Oh, it was 3. So that was the 3 ones. Okay.
yeah, so it was 9 to 1 for the summer fall schedule on the December schedule. And then for the winter 2025 schedule, it was 10 to 0. So that was.
Thanks, Anna. So I will offer an opportunity for questions from the council to Ms. Anna.
Questions, yeah, when this is set up, I mean, and this is more of a sciencey type question, is where does this sit on sort of the MSY calculations, total in terms of the estimates?
Oh, do you want to speak to that?
Sure, I guess I'll speak to it by way of background, how we got here. So previous work that we've done last year to the council was suggesting that on average, to reach an MSY that we thought was sustainable, or harvest that we thought was sustainable, would be around, at the time, I believe was around 14 days on average with uncertainty. So you could go higher if you assumed that your catch rates might be lower or whatever it might be. That discussion led us to this time last year, to recommending 18 days in that period of May through October. The 21 was derived basically because last year of those 18, only 15 were realized due to rain. It's a really wet year. So from the division perspective, we were okay, based on the council vote last time, to have those 3 days be accessed this year, into 2024. So in some ways, I view it as almost like a council recommendation and a 2-year spec, if you could think of it that way, for 2024 and 2023. If that's helpful. So original recommendation probably higher, this would be higher, but within the uncertainty of the estimated days, which accounts for variability in how many people show up on a given day to catch cohogs, the actual catch rate per individual, like, kind of simulating both good and bad harvester, or both good and bad catch rates, I guess, per individual. So with the ultimate catch recommended based on a previous year's estimate of, how many clams could be harvested.
So, sort of philosophically, in terms of the department, I mean, there's a lot of moving parts.
Mhm.
Do you tend to be a little bit more on the conservative side of things? More or less, or,
You mean
I would say.
across all fisheries?
yeah, well, this one is specific, but, I mean, sort of, this sort of complicated type situation, that kind of tells me that there's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this is slightly risk tolerant,
Uh-huh.
if that's one way to look at it, but I don't think I think historically, how we've managed shellfish areas when they've opened, this is definitely one of the more progressive management strategies that we've had. For example, when Area B opened and not from being conditional, there weren't any changes. When conditional A had a change in rainfall trigger, we didn't change the management. With the river, it wasn't just open on days of which we're allowing for harvest. There's actually another superimposed fisheries management plan, i.e. days, bushels, etc. So I think it's, I think that it's more conservative than we've managed other areas when they've opened, but based on the modeling, it's probably slightly risk tolerant in terms of the actual MSY. So on average, I think we do a pretty good job of trying to provide some type of guidance. And I think what I also view this as a true compromise or of fisheries management, of fishery science plus understanding economics and industry dynamics personally. But others may disagree.
Okay. Yeah, that does it for me.
I'll just say, just to finish out the division perspective, so when we went through the SAP process, our recommendation was 18 plus the 3 that you didn't get last year, kind of this 2-year spec. This proposal here, 2024, does so. 2025, I think there was discussion about whether 2024 and 2025 are one spec package for 2024, with the thought that there might be days lost in 2024, and thus let's plan on those days being lost now and have a clear, succinct path for winter 2025, which I appreciate because as you may remember last year, we had a bit of confusion with late proposals trying to square it away. So I think one of the benefits of this shellfish advisory panel was getting a clear consensus of how we would move forward with the winter harvest schedule, given the dynamics of the market at that point and the other area is being open primarily Greenwich Bay. So I guess the division doesn't have any strong opposition to what's presented here. What I will say is, just for full transparency, if 2024 days are all optimized, particularly the summer fall schedule, so 21. And then plus the 2025 days are, optimized, and I think on average that they're anticipating something like the equivalent of 2 days at 3. At 6 bushels based on rain, how that looks. That may go into consideration for how we manage, or what our recommendations are for 2025 summer fall schedule. So again, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it as a community, but they just wanted to be transparent on that for folks. I think one last comment for me philosophically on this, and I just want, sharing my perspectives with the council based on the previous shelters advisory panel meetings. There's folks aren't always thrilled about counting days, doing that arithmetic through the season, and this desire to have an area look like Greenwich, something that's like a weekly schedule, you can count on it if it's open. And in my perspective, the challenge here is I think at some point the river could be like that at some periodicity that's more temporally open, if the bushel limit's not as high. I think trying to maybe rectify that in the future, if the council or the industry were so interested, that would, in my mind, that would be the way to achieve that. If the community really wanted a more year-round opening or 8-month opening or something of that nature, you could achieve that at some periodicity with a lower bushel limit. Whether that's a future conversation, but I just wanted to put the bug in your ear now. Doesn't influence your voting tonight or anything, but it's just, I think it's one of the toys that we get. So it's pulling in different directions. How do you stop counting days? How do you build some type of systematic fishery while also not overfishing? So I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Was there any other questions from the council on the division perspective? I think we're good. Okay, so at this time, before we get to motions, and I do really want to offer an opportunity to the public to offer comment on anything related to the proposal before us. I will just say, if try to limit to things that are nuanced, things that we might have missed or would be important for the council, so that we can be cognizant of time. So with that being said, I will go to you.
Thank you.
Can you just state your name?
Sure. My name is David Gigliotti. I'm the current vice president of the Rhode Island Shell Fishermen's Association. I am here on behalf of the association. Our group is in full support of this proposal. One of the things a couple of things I'd like to bring up very quickly is the fact that this was, and I'm also a member of the SAP as well. This was one of the first times that I actually thought that one of these SAP meetings was very, very cohesive, meaning the folks from the East Bay, as well as the folks from the West Bay, industry-wise, got together, we put our heads together and came up with this. Now, I know it looks a little more confusing than it actually is, but the general feeling was it served both sides of the day. I'd like to talk for a second about the 21 days with the 3, left from the other one, the previous year. That was something where we wrestled with that a little bit, but knowing that the weather is really very, very unpredictable in Rhode Island, right? So we could maybe not see the 21 days realized. It really lent itself to the winter openings as far as the 2025. It was discussed at that particular point that if there was somewhat of a, we did realize the 21 days that we would have to talk through the next summer session, the summer schedule into the next year's winter schedule. That was realized, but we feel that when we get to that point, as Connor said, we'll cross that hurdle when we get there. Notoriously, May and August are wet months. So those dates starting a little bit earlier and even into the August months, knowing that it gets a little bit wetter, then we understand that there's a good chance that we won't see anywhere near the 21 days. The winter harvest schedule for 2025, the open from 8 to 10, that was a combination of 2 SAP members plus from the East Bay plus our association, and we came up with what we feel is a great plan. Industry-wise, we need shellfish in that time of the year. If you remember, about a year ago, we voted not to have a winter schedule because we were worried about the market conditions. But this to me is a work in progress. Every year we try and refine it. We certainly, from the industry side of things, want a sustainable fishery. We don't want a boom bust fishery at all. This is very important to us. So with that being said, when we talked about the winter schedule a year ago and we opted not to go for it, we now realize that that was an error because there were many dealers, especially from the east side, that needed the shellfish. Okay. B, the folks that fish from the east side of the bay find it very hard to get over to the Greenwich Bay management area on a regular schedule because a lot of days it is just blowing tremendous gale force winds. So it's hard for them to get over. So this actually helps them, helps the guys on the west side, but it helps everybody industry-wide. The dealers are going to get a little bit of product in, and it's not going to be something where we feel it will be crippling to the economy of the fishery. So my guys were all in agreement with it, to the point that it was somewhat surprising, to be honest. There's always a little bit of, chatter, so to speak, but we feel that this was a really well thought out, well put together proposal, and we hope you guys look upon it favorably. And again, to Connor's point, when we get past the schedule and we have to then figure out what we're doing for next season, this would all have to be probably brought up again and readjusted and so on and so forth. But I have yet to see such a collaborative effort amongst the shell fishermen and the industry people as I have when they put this together.
Really great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so are there any other statements from, I'll go to, you guys are duking it out, so I'll go to you first and then I'll go over to you.
Ken Rego, commercial fisherman, also a SAP member. They did a great job and summed up how it went really well. I just wanted to double down on one point he made. The winter schedule was very important to a lot of people with the industry, which is desperate for a shot in the arm that time of year. And we tried to be conservative with a 2-hour opening. I mean, it's winter, it's 2 hours, you should expect a decently, significantly lower catch rate. So a conservative way to go.
Great.
That's it, I'm looking my short. It summed it up, so.
Thank you, Ken. All right, Jim.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jim Boyd, Rhode Island Shellfish Association Board Member. Very briefly, I'm in full support of what came out of the SAP, as Dave and Ken both said. This was a collaborative effort on both sides of the bay to come up with a schedule that works for everybody. So I'm really proud of what the SAP accomplished there. Keep in mind that on average, this is a work in progress. We're learning as we go through each year. This will now be our 4th year working up in the Providence River. On average, we're losing half the days proposed. Last year, we proposed 39 days of harvest. We got 15 because of rainfall closures. We're off to a flying start with the rain. We're out of area A. We're back in area B now, as of this morning. We're going to be there all week, and that's probably going to get extended because we get a lot of rain. And to Connor's point with the division, we're fully supportive, working with the division, moving forward in the future to make this a year-round fishery. And we'll be making some adjustments so that we can get to that point where we have sustainable resource and harvest that we can have year round, keep prices good, keep the market up. So we're hoping that the council votes favorably for this proposal as put forward by the SAP and approved almost unanimously.
Thanks, Jim. I will turn it to, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, Phil Papavici, I'm a commercial fisherman, and I want to corroborate everything that was said by Dave and Ken, and also Connor, because I'm from the east side of the bay, and it is extremely difficult getting across. And I will tell you that there's a lot of forethought that was put in, not only on behalf of the environmental management with Connor's group, but also the fishermen to be a part of this. So there's a lot of effort that was put in here, and I think it really is cohesive and works well. And I would recommend that being approved as well.
Thank you. And over here.
Just quickly, my name's Brennan Deacon. I'm with Bella Vista. So we're buying a lot of this product. I'm also on SAP. It's a lot to get to this proposal, and I think it will work very well with the industry. I think we added some days for holidays, and we can talk about what days would be best for the industry. And I gotta agree, this is a very good schedule.
Thank you. I will go to anything online. Okay. Lines. Okay, so if I don't see any other hands raised, which is great, thank you guys for the public comment. So I will entertain a motion from the council. Mike, go ahead.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion, and that motion is to adopt in entirety the staff recommended schedule as presented.
Do I have a second? Seconded by Andy D'Angelo. Okay, so I will just go to Connor. Any other further thoughts before we vote on this? Any questions or comments?
Is this, Dr. Rice, is this all the three proposals? Is this just the one, just for clarification? I
Yep,
understand.
Yeah, it's the entire, yeah, proposed.
Yeah.
was there any further commentary or discussion on that matter from the council? I will briefly, if you've already spoken to this, but I will give one more bite at the apple if anybody feels strongly enough to say it from the public. But otherwise, nothing else. Is everyone ready for the vote? Okay, all those in favor of recommending to the director the adoption of the Providence River Conditional Area E Shellfish Harvest Schedule as proposed, please raise your hand. All in favor? Motion passes 4-0. Okay, gotta get my bearings around me. The next item on the agenda. Nicole, I'm not missing anything, right? I didn't miss it. It's been a minute. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the start cessation harvest schedule for Providence River Shellfish Management Area Conditional E, area E. I'll go to Anna for the overview.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this proposal was brought forth by the Division of Law Enforcement. And for a little background, the Division of Law Enforcement has received numerous complaints from the public with regards to people harvesting after hours of closure in the Providence River area, E management area, which has led to them having to follow up on all these complaints. And what they have found that is people tend to hang out there for an hour or longer, calling their catch. And so a way to hopefully address this issue in the future is a proposal that's been brought forth by the Division of Law Enforcement and was discussed at the SAP. And the proposal that came from the SAP is as follows: of slide. No person shall engage in the taking of shellfish when the area is closed as specified in this part. This would fall under the Providence River Management Area regulations. So and all gear used in the taking of shellfish shall be stowed when the area is closed. Possession of cohogs within the area shall be prohibited on a scheduled open day for 45 minutes after the scheduled end of harvest. Enforcement had originally suggested 30 minutes, and on discussion during the SAP, it was decided that 45 minutes might be more appropriate. Now, law enforcement has provided additional language that might help clarify this proposal. This was brought forth for the SAP meeting, and that's the 3 bullets at the bottom. So the first one is on days closed as specified herein, the taking or possession of bay quahog is prohibited, and all gear used in the taking of bay quahog shall be stowed. So this is again just to further clarify the language from the proposal. The next bullet is on days open as specified herein, all gear used in the taking of bay quahog shall be stowed except between 8 AM and 11 AM. And the final is on days open as specified herein, possession of bay quahog is prohibited except between 8 AM and 11:45. Now, if you go to the next slide, there was actual discussion during the SAP of including language of transiting in the area. And we think that that would probably be beneficial in the language and probably add further clarity to the rule. And so we pulled this language from our fishery regs from other management areas and adapted it for this purpose. So this language would be, as we've suggested, a vessel in possession of bay quahog harvested in an open area of state waters may transit a closed portion of state waters in possession of that species, provided the operator of the vessel has a valid fishing license and all gear capable of harvesting shellfish is stowed.
Great. So I will go to the council for any questions, and then I'll pop over to Connor for some perspective. So if you guys don't have any initial questions.
No, just one.
Go ahead.
The, on the transiting, does that come up for concern today? Not specific to area E, but other areas.
Well, I mean, I think enforcement could speak to this better, but, for the purposes of making it clear for this particular proposal, we thought that transiting would make it a little more clear that if, as long as you're transiting out of the area after the area is closed, it could clarify that, you know, you're not hanging around and still harvesting. And you can still be in possession of product that you harvested, legally in an area that's closed, as long as you're transiting out there.
I guess the question is that a concern today, like Mr. Boyd said that area A is closed now. So if you were transiting through area A, would that be a concern today? Is there regulation today that kind of keeps people safe from that, or is this?
Not in shellfish management areas at this time, there's none.
Okay. All right. Good.
I might, Connor, if you allow, I might pop over to DLE to, or enforcement.
Sure. There are transiting provisions for every other fishery, just not quahogs, and it's common practice for it to occur, so we have no problem with this being in there, and it's just a safeguard for fishermen while they transit.
While I have you, do you have any further perspective on the proposals that you want to provide?
We work closely with marine fisheries to come up with the language for the regulation. I think it reflects upon what was voted upon at the SAP. Just puts it in clear language for the regulations.
Connor, any further perspective?
No, Marine Fisheries supports the proposal, appreciates DLE bringing it forth. And then I think that, in my mind, the 45 days is also a compromise with the industry. Originally, the request was for 30 minutes. We understood the feedback that they had. We moved it to 45, so I think that we've landed in a fair or equitable spot between both parties.
So can I just clarify for council members? So we have a SAP recommendation, but as modified by DLE, kind of saying the same thing, just a little bit more, which is a little cleaner. That would also incorporate the transiting element. That just a fair, accurate, quick and dirty of it. Okay. All right, so I will go to the council for any commentary or questions, and then I will go to the public to do the same. Good. Okay, so anyone from the public that would like to offer comment on the proposals before, anything?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The industry at the SAP meeting expressed, support for the proposal, put forth by enforcement. Although we did make a change from 30 minutes to 45 minutes. There's anal guys like me that like to clean your boat before you leave the area, get all the mud and shells out. But I think certainly within 45 minutes, I'll be on my way and out of it. So we are supportive of the proposal thing.
And as, and on behalf of the Rhode Island Shellfish Fisheries Association, we're behind that as well. We have noticed that, folks typically hang out up, and it makes it harder for them, so we're very well aware. We're happier for the 45 minutes than the 30 because of Jim.
Is there one online? I'll come to you right after. One line? Go ahead.
Doesn't allude to the 2-hour opening, though. We got that worded.
Can you clarify your question?
You're right. It only alludes to a 3-hour opening, not 2. The way it's worded, I believe.
On
Under 45, it should be.
Yeah.
Would be
That is correct.
changed to a 2-hour opening.
That is correct. So this is, that is a good point. This is written up for the typical 8 to 11 schedule. We would have to adjust this for the 2025 schedule, which is 8 to 10. We would have to adjust that one.
Go ahead.
Phil Papavici, commercial fisherman. The question with the added, language on the transiting, I'm not sure, does it take into account on the days that that fishery is closed and area E, but area A may be open, but someone wants to trailer their boat at Haynes Park and come down the river and work Barrington Beach, and after working the day to transit back through to get to Haynes Park to, trailer out, where they've worked at area A, they're tagged, everything's broken down. How does that work? Is that included in the transit for enforcement? Because it's on a day that E is not open, but we're working A, right? But the closest ramp is Haynes Park. Yes.
I'll comment to that. It's common practice that happens
Yeah.
already. This is just codifying and regulation. that
Okay.
We will allow that.
I just want to verify that there's not an infraction that would happen.
I have a question more than comment. Can you go back a slide? Is it the intent of this regulation that it will be illegal to go work open grounds between sunrise and 7:45 and then go to the river? Because in the last line, it's effectively prohibited. I never thought about that situation before, to be honest, but when I was reading it, that's effectively what that last bullet point does.
So I might give Dealey and Connor a quick second to think about it, and then I might defer to one of you guys. Can you restate the question, Ken?
Yeah, so the last line, if that becomes regulation, effectively makes it illegal for somebody, say area A is open, who wants to go work at 5 whatever AM sunrise is until 7:45 and then go to the river for their 3 hours. That effectively bans it. I didn't know if that was the intent of this regulation, it's just kind of how I was reading it. I'm not sure if that specific line was up in the SAP meeting.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I think this is going in the Providence River schedule specifically, so it's not, this part is not for all cohogging.
Okay,
But I think that the transiting is across all cohog regulations.
And I see what you're saying.
yeah,
Yeah. So you want to dig early in a different area and then go to Providence River. I think the last bullet point could be modified to capture the 10 o'clock open closing days as well, to just read on open days as specified here in possession. Bay cohogs is prohibited after 45 minutes of the closure. That would address your point as well.
I think that still fits, with the context of our regs and rules, so. I think that's allowable if the council feels that way, considering it. Okay. I will turn to the council for any further clarifications, or I can entertain a motion.
So I have a question,
Go ahead.
with, from enforcement. So would, in your opinion, a slight modification of that last line make things clearer?
Yes, it would, and then it would address the issue with the 10 a.m. closing. I think you'd also have to modify bullet point 2 to take out the times as well. You could just
Okay.
write except during open. the
Yeah.
Scheduled open.
So, so except with, on scheduled opening. Because what I want to do is basically sort of, make an amendment to this, to that effect.
Yeah, it would address both the concerns of them and it's fine with us as well.
Okay, so let's, make that amendment as you suggest.
You gotta make a motion.
And that's a motion. To, basically amend.
So
It's basically the timing, right?
you can just make the motion. So what I might, you're gonna have to do it, but I'm gonna help you out a little bit.
Okay,
So are you recommending to adopt the modified language proposed by DLE, except remove the time signatures on bullet point 2 and 3? Is that
correct.
the intent of what you're trying
That's
to
the
say?
intent, yes.
Nicole, how do we accomplish that?
Yeah, if we get a second, I can throw something up and we can kind of tweak it.
Sure.
Yeah, you just need a minute? Okay. here.
Do we have a second?
Sure.
And
Yeah.
Mike Grace is gonna second himself.
No. I thought she asked if there was a.
Let's try this.
Let's give a gander.
So I tried to remember what DLE said on the third bullet, on days open as specified herein, possession of a hog is prohibited 45 minutes after a scheduled opening.
That sounds good.
I will,
Closure.
After closure.
Yeah, very good. Put it after scheduled closure.
um,
And then bullet point 2, I took the time out and just put during the scheduled opening.
Mike, give this a good read before we move forward with anything.
Say possession of big hog within conditional area B is prohibited 45 minutes? Or is
I
that
think
instead
it
of-
says specified herein,
Okay.
so, yeah.
You're in that section of the rule.
That's in the section already.
But good catch, yeah.
No.
Okay, so
Okay.
does that accurately reflect?
Yeah, I think so,
Okay, so before I go anywhere,
right?
the council, is there any questions or clarifications from the council? On the motion before?
Just quick, so Ken, Virgo, so are you still concerned that if you showed up at area E at 7:45 with 2 bushels of hogs, that you're gonna be jammed up here? 'Cause that's what I thought I was hearing from you. That you were concerned of showing up at area E.
Yeah, I just thought it might have been like an unintended consequence of what we were trying to put in regulation there.
But do you feel like that is correct, like,
I think so. Looks good to me.
so, and then I will actually go to law enforcement. Can you just give some perspective and maybe just give it a once over?
Looks good.
Looks good? Okay.
I to be honest, with you, that's.
And then Connor, any further perspective?
Looks good.
Okay, is there any other public comment on this motion on the table? Anything online? Okay. All right, so, I will go to the council for a vote then. All those in favor of recommending the director of the adoption of the language before you, as you can see, For Providence River Conditional Area E, start cessation of harvest and possession, as noted. Please raise your hand. All unanimously approved? No objections? No, I didn't get it. Okay, so then we're on to the next item, which is any other matters. So,
Chair, I don't think we covered that covered the transit, it did?
mhm,
Okay.
yes.
Sorry, I'm so hung up on the first time.
No, you got it. No, that was a tough one, but we did it. So that covers everything there. So I'm just gonna go on to any other matters for the council, and then I'll go to the division. Okay, division?
Just one really quick one. We have our next meeting, April 1st. It's a lot of material, so we usually start at 6. My question to you all, would you be opposed to starting earlier than 6?
I would, please. I have, if I can bother you guys with 2 points of privilege for this, any other matters. So the Seafood Marketing Collaborative and RI Seafood has announced my program. We were awarded CARES Act money of $45,000 to try a pilot grant program for commercial fishermen, including harvesters, shell fishermen, and aquaculture. Okay, this is for what you could imagine of furthering your business, basically. It's up to $5,000 per grant application. It's on the Division of Marine Fisheries website. You can also find it, you can email me, you can email my cohort, Jordan Kaslunger. I will tell you all that the application online is incredibly difficult and it is not user-friendly, including to myself. With that being said, please give me a call if you are having trouble after you look at it, take a gander, and then give me a call. The second part of this is we are going to be hosting a webinar on the 18th to help applicants apply. So you will hear about this shortly about it. So take a gander and then give me a call. Happy to entertain any calls. The second element of this, especially for our co-hoggers, is Cohog Week is back May 11th through the 18th. The 2 big events that we typically host, hoping to have the governor there, will either be the 15th or the 16th, but you will hear more about that as I get further along. You'll probably hear it in April. You'll hear it all over the place. You'll just keep on hearing it. So those are my 2 little updates. There any other matters from the public online? Cool. Is there any objection to adjourning this meeting? Hearing none, this meeting is adjourned.